Now to a new trend in higher education. A number of universities, including more than 10 historically black colleges and universities, are paying off students' outstanding bills. Today, the City University of New York, known as CUNY schools, announced debt forgiveness for more than 50,000 students impacted by the pandemic. The famed Spelman and Clark colleges in Atlanta also pledging to wipe out students' debts. These moves are reigniting the larger debate about student loan forgiveness in our nation's capital. White House correspondent MaryAlice Parks has this report.
Yes, so I ran that, yes.
Back on campus at her alma mater, Alinda Williams tells me at first she did not believe what she was seeing.
I looked and my bill was zeroed out.
Just zero, just zero?
It said zero, like I owed nothing.
The first in her family to graduate from college, Williams worked each semester on campus, sometimes 2 jobs at a time. But the bills piled up until last May, right before graduation, when Delaware State University decided to wipe hers clean.
What has it meant for you and your family and your mom?
It means a lot. It was definitely a weight lifted off her shoulder, one less thing that she had to stress about.
You were telling me that you're not sure how you were going to pay that off, the two of you.
I was not sure. My mother was not sure.
University President Tony Allen has known and worked closely with President Biden for more than 2 decades. He says it was the money provided to schools through the recent COVID relief legislation that allowed him to cancel more than $700,000 in unpaid bills in May.
We wanted to make sure that no senior walked away from here with any debt. Our students come to the university for quality education, first and foremost, but they're also trying to change the economic trajectory for themselves, their families, and their communities. So you can imagine when COVID hit, there was a big concern that that was not going to happen for a lot of them.
Delaware State University, one of many historically black colleges and universities around the country, clearing account balances for returning and graduating students.
It doesn't surprise me at all that my colleagues have followed suit. It is the HBCU philosophy, and when you think about the number of first-generation college students that come to an HBCU, the number of low-resource students that come to an HBCU, this is mission-driven, what we are doing. These are the things that we are supposed to do.
The issue of student loan debt has been front and center this last year during the pandemic. It's estimated that American borrowers owe around $1.7 trillion in student loan debt. The federal government paused payments, but that extension is about to expire, and bills are expected to come due again in September.
Rajita Small.
Like so many, Dr. Rajita Small has struggled with debt well into her career. At 38, she works as an HR executive, but is still paying down her loans. She's also helping her mom and grandmother.
There's a lot of other financial responsibilities that I have that don't necessarily allow me to do things like save or build wealth. When I think about family planning, if you will, you want to be able to afford to have children. And me personally, I've had to put off that journey because I have this debt. I have these other financial responsibilities.
While the majority of borrowers took out loans for 2 or 4-year schools, Dr. Small says that she needed a PhD to get ahead. Black women, after all, are often paid much less than white men.
I have to get my master's and PhD to compete with that individual, whether, similar school, similar, levels of experience, but they may also have more wealth than I do. So I have to take off the loans.
In one of their only public disagreements, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer yesterday again pushed President Biden to extend the pause on federal student loan payments and cancel up to $50,000 per student in public loans.
This pause has actually shown how important canceling student debt is to borrowers and to our economy. We've heard about how being saddled with this debt has affected millions of Americans' lives on so many choices that they'd like to make.
But the ranking Republican member on the House Education Committee disagrees.
It's clear that Senator Schumer cares nothing at all for the taxpayers of this country, because it is hardworking taxpayers who provided the funds for these students to go to college. And by the way, 70% of taxpayers do not have baccalaureate degrees. So where are they in this equation?
The Biden administration has moved to cancel debt for some students, including some with disabilities and others who were defrauded by a handful of for-profit colleges. But there's a debate in Washington over the limits of his authority, and the president himself so far has rejected proposals for blanket loan forgiveness. Back in February, this exchange.
We need at least a $50,000 minimum. What will you do to make that happen?
I will not make that happen. It depends on whether or not you go to a private university or a public university.
Biden has this past year often talked about the wealth gap that in America often falls along racial lines. Activist Shakia Cherry Donaldson says she hopes the president will consider this issue of student loan debt as essential in the fight for racial equality.
You can't try to plug one racial systematic hole without acknowledging that there are several more. And I think that this is one of the lowest hanging fruits that the administration could carry out that would drastically change people of color and particularly Black women's lives. Every dollar spent on the computer, on the twin extra long sheets, on tuition, on dorm fees, on the meal plan, it was an investment. And not just me, but my entire bloodline. Because I would be opening up new paths and new opportunities for the people that come behind me.
Women in particular are estimated to hold nearly 2/3 of all outstanding loans. The American Association of University Women wrote about the problem, saying that while the amount of debt women initially take on compared to men is not huge, when women graduate, their debt repayment collides with the gender wage gap and the racial wealth gap to make it harder for them to repay their loans. Back in Delaware, President Allen says he's not talked to President Biden about this debate and respects the work the president has done on higher education.
I know you said you're not in the business of giving him advice. I respect that. But do you have a message for him on this issue?
He understands what students like mine go through. And I think he understands that deep in his bones. Remember where you come from and who you've been in the business of serving for so many years across this country, and make the decision from there. Trust your gut.
MaryAlice Parks, ABC News, Washington.
So timely and relevant. Our thanks to MaryAlice Parks for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.